Welcome back to the Comic Book Network. I'm your host, Ian.
And I'm your co-host, Ethan.
Well, last week we decided to go on a more broad note, discussing the Spider-Man movies and everything. This week we're going to take it a little bit more personal and discuss our favorite comic book characters.
You know, make sure you guys can get to know us, feel more at home.
Yeah, at least know our names or something like that, and we've already pretty much got that checked off.
Pretty much.
That's
So, I can start with my favorite comic book character,
I suppose.
if you will let me know.
Of course. I feel a little tension, man, but go ahead. All right.
This is what you get when
Just
you
go
hire
ahead.
him off Craigslist.
It was eBay. You know that.
I'm trying to look cool. But anyways, my favorite comic superhero is Taskmaster. Now, I originally found out about him a long time ago, but you know, my favorite was always the cliche like Spider-Man, Batman, until I played this game called Marvel Heroes. It's a free to download game. We're not sponsored by it though.
We are making bank off it though. Off of mentioning.
Just a bit.
10 cents.
So yeah, it's a pretty fun game, and you play as superheroes, which really appeals to us as nerds, comic book nerds, I'd say. Yeah, that's
I'm a little bit offended that you'd go straight to the N word, but I suppose I can just live with it.
Just roll with it.
Just roll.
So I was playing that game, and they were releasing the new Taskmaster, right? I'd heard about him before. I thought, hey, he's kind of cool, so I look into his powers. Wikipedia, it's got me, right?
It's pretty tight.
Pretty tight. I learned he has photographic reflexes, and basically what those are is anything he sees, he can do.
Yeah.
And
he is quoting straight from Wikipedia here, so you know it's a reliable source.
It is, unless of course they change all of the descriptions on an actor to hypothetical.
That can be a little bit confusing.
Anyways, so he has photographic reflexes, and I thought this is the coolest thing ever.
Right.
So I searched up some Taskmaster comics, right? I found 4 of them on some off-brand Marvel website, and I read them, and in it he's like changing to different characters, he's changing his appearance, and I thought this is the coolest thing ever. You know?
Right.
So he became an instant favorite, and
that sounds pretty good. What aspects do you like about him besides his powers? Is there anything deeper?
Well, there's a deeper story if you go more into it, which I'm not going to spoil it, but
he hasn't gotten to the second level of Wikipedia.
In my reads of the week, I read one of them this week, so I'll share a bit more later.
That sounds good
About him, and but yeah, he's a cool, funny character, and that's why he's my favorite.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna have to go against you because I picked a very generic character to love. But I think there is good reason behind loving him because he is a great character. And that would be Dr. Doom. He's so intense. He's so much more developed as a villain than most villains, except of course Thanos. Right, exactly. That is about the top of the line. I really can see no one getting past that.
I forgot to put him in my favorites, though. He outweighs Taskmaster by a lot.
Oh, absolutely. He's pretty much the greatest comic book person that's ever lived.
You know, I think he might be.
He could definitely make it to the Hall of Fame at least. Sit on his little throne or something.
Yeah.
Throne of gold, gauntlet of gold. But what first got me really into the character was Books of Doom, because there isn't much opportunity for enjoying him outside of comics. the critical successes that were the Fantastic Four movies didn't really do it for me.
Oh, what are you talking about?
I
Those
know.
those are probably my favorite movies to hate on.
Yeah, and they're so loyal to the source material too,
Right.
Like the guy with the cracked face that you could tell right away it was Doom because he was glowing green and had little points for eyes.
Also, his last name is Von Doom, which
Yeah, that is also a
subtle
very...
hint. Subtle hint.
Yeah, I didn't actually pick up on that the first time. I had to go through a couple times to figure out, oh, maybe that means he's a bad guy or something. But I did eventually get there, and I think that's really what it's all about.
Common mistake. I just thought his parents hated him.
Oh, of course, they probably do.
That too.
Those gypsies. But Books of Doom really portrayed him from a more human side. And besides having great art moments, like his ghost, if you will, as he was telling this story, would appear in certain moments to narrate. And it gave him a good, solid backstory that became pretty enjoyable. And actually, he was in one of the first comic books I read, which was Triumph and Torment.
Triumph and Torment.
Yeah, you may not remember that one, but it's a team-up between Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom.
I was gonna say, actually, that I do remember one comic book, the only one I ever read with Doctor Doom in it, where it was Doctor Strange's main storyline, but
Right.
Doctor Doom got incorporated as he was trying to do stuff. I don't
Essentially,
remember.
it was a little battle to become Sorcerer Supreme.
Yes.
And
the old guy.
And the old guy. Yep, the ancient one.
The ancient one.
Old guy, ancient one. You hit it pretty close, just missing a couple adjectives,
Yeah. Well,
Twist it around, you got a deal. But I really liked the battle of the PhDs that was going on. The banter back and forth was great. And then finally, most recently, I read Doom War, which is an amazing testament to his intellect and his ability to sort of mess with people psychologically, like you were saying with Mysterio.
yeah.
He gets in people's heads, and he's very good at just sort of constructing a setup where he will turn out on top. And it also showed a more human aspect by showing that he really believed in what he was doing and believed that it was for the greater good.
We don't really see that in the critically acclaimed movies as much.
What? Are you kidding me? Those are so much character development. I mean, there was like that rock guy, the one that appeared like a little bit and got really angry and had no pants, you know him?
I think that was the Hulk.
Hulk, yeah. No, wait. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
For sure.
That guy had more character development than anyone I've ever seen in any movie besides Thanos.
It was a pretty interesting rock.
Yeah, he did swing a bat, so that really let me know how much of a great home life he had.
Yeah.
It really brought me back to his origin and backstory. But another thing I liked about the Doom War was it showed Doom's capability, like I said, to believe in what he's doing and believe that it's for the greater good, which can be probably the most dangerous thing in a villain.
Well, I believe that really, if you're going to make any villain believable, he has to have a force that he believes in, because no one wakes up in the morning, looks themselves in the mirror and says, I suck. I'm a terrible human being.
Unless your name is Von Doom, which can bring you to that point.
I suppose, but I think for a villain to be truly great, they have to believe in themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And just having a driving motivation overall can make for a really relatable character. And that's another thing I like about Doctor Doom is that he manages to be relatable.
Unlike us.
Right, exactly. He manages to be relatable, murdering thousands of people when we manage not to be. And we're not even killing anyone. Well, aside from Tommy was a mistake, but
yeah, our producer last episode was
he was fired and then inflamed, and that was probably not the best setup to go with.
On the plus side, we had a nice fire for some s'mores.
Yeah, great barbecue too. I really like the chicken wing. Wait,
we didn't buy chicken wings.
Oh, well,
moving on.
Yeah, I feel a little bit sick, but I suppose I should feel a little bit sick endorsing, a killer, a mass murderer, a genocidal maniac. But it had him confront this, I want to say Egyptian goddess, Bast?
Yeah,
yeah.
The cat goddess, I believe.
The cat, yeah. And he had to prove that he had pure intentions. And that's really difficult to do when you're on the brink of insanity and
you're a villain.
And you're a villain and you're trying to murder, countless numbers of people.
Innocents.
Right. Innocence usually wins out. But other than that, it was great to see that he believed in what he was doing. I'm getting a little repetitive, but I can't explain quite how much I enjoy this character. And he's got some of the sickest costumes you've ever seen.
Yeah, well, speaking of costumes, Taskmaster, he has a few good ones, but some of them are a bit cringeworthy. He does not look good in neon orange and green.
Are you kidding me? That's my favorite color pairing.
If you're a 12-year-old girl.
Or dressing up for Halloween. I mean, that's...
As a 12-year-old girl.
As a 12-year-old. As we tend to do. Or on weekends, Just depending on the situation.
Yeah.
So, anything else to say about Taskmaster? Anything else specifically you want to highlight?
I don't think I touched on it before, but I can say one of the other things I love about Taskmaster is the fact that his alliance or his side he's on, you never really know. Originally, he was a villain, but well, not originally off some storylines, which I'll get into later during my reads of the week. Originally, he was a villain, or thought to be a villain, and he trained villains, but then he switched over, He used to train some Hydra people, but he switched over to the Secret Avengers, which was a huge boost to them. And that I thought was really cool. And then another thing I love about him is the whole triangle with him, Deadpool, and Spider-Man, because those three characters are thought to be pretty powerful. And in most storylines, Spider-Man is the only one who can defeat, Deadpool's the only one who can defeat Taskmaster, because Taskmaster can't analyze his thinking, right? Spider-Man can defeat Deadpool, and Taskmaster can defeat Spider-Man, which I think is a interesting way to take an overpowered character who can predict thoughts and everything, and their fighting styles, and take them down a notch.
Yeah, another thing I like about Taskmaster is that he's trained so many notable characters. It's not just like they're hiding him in the shadows, though to some extent they are. I may be wrong on this, so don't kill me if I am. but two characters I distinctly remember are USA Agent, who was the stand-in for Captain America. I remember him being trained by a Taskmaster, and Crossbones, who's going to show up in the more recent Captain America movie. He was trained and actually became an instructor, and it's cool to have that sort of institution built in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I saw one of Taskmaster's, I think it was a training montage in comics, and the whole time he's like attacking with different fighting styles, which I think is super beneficial, because one second he's jumping like Spider-Man at you, and then he has Wolverine's strength and swinging at you, and so you have to learn more to think on your feet, and I think that Taskmaster's not only a great villain or anti-hero, as he's now considered, but also a great character.
Yeah, with a ton of variety. So I think it's about time to move on to our reads of the week. What have you been looking at lately?
Well, I'm going to start off with Spider-Man. I read the first issue of the all new, all different Spider-Man. That was pretty good, although it's interesting to see him in charge of a company, Peter Parker, and out of his teenage years. And it's good, and I like it that people aren't hating on Spider-Man and he's constantly getting this terrible publicity.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't necessarily like is he has a Spider-Man stand-in, which, I mean, I think could be a great idea if that Spider-Man stand-in had powers. Because in the first issue, the Spider-Man stand-in, he has to go against some guy because he's attacked as the stand-in, and he does terrible.
Yeah.
Which gives the enemy the mental advantage over the real Spider-Man because they know, hey, we can do this. We've defeated him before.
Yeah, but in a sense, they too underestimate his powers, or they could be inclined to do that. And that's, you got to factor that in too. But another thing I like about the Spider-Man is that we have so many different takes on him, with not only his different clones, if you will, like Miguel O'Hara and Miles Morales, but we're also getting a look at him in the Spidey and Deadpool, which, that wasn't the greatest comic, but we're seeing a lighter side of him still. And the new Spidey series, which takes a look at him in his teenage years and more of one-shot type stories. So I like that we're still getting all the different aspects of Spider-Man, but we still have his character progression.
Yeah, and just for forewarning, I am going to be reading quite a bit of Spider-Man, probably a different type or issue each week, so I'll let you guys know how that's going.
He's a good character.
And my second read of the week was Taskmaster Volume 2, which I sort of touched on earlier, but it's a very, very different take on Taskmaster. It's about him, except he can't remember anything. Okay. He can remember his moves, and he can act off instinct, and he can analyze people, but he can't remember who he is, where he came from, who's this company that's employing him.
Sort of a Jason Bourne situation.
Yeah, like that. And so he's going through these obstacles and fighting off Hydra in this weird Nazi Hitler town just to try and get to the people who are supposed to be in charge of him. And there's a good plot twist at the end. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's you see Taskmaster in a different light, not as this rogue villain who just wants destruction, but as a man who took risks and fell upon hard times, and it's actually sad for Taskmaster.
Like a more touching side. And I do want to say something real quick that Nazi Hitler Town is actually the name of my next rap album, which you can buy on Spotify or any other great website. It's you should really have coined that before you said it, but I suppose it's too late now. So my reads of the week were a little more on the lower end. I'd say Hercules was great. Hercules is one of the standout, all new, all different comics, but it didn't progress as much as I'd have liked it to. It had some great villains in the Kentaros, which are centaurs, but for whatever reason they named them Kentaros. It's probably the Greek roots or something, but
the Greek roots is centaur.
Right. Well, it was nice to see because you can see how Hercules is adapting and trying to become a modern hero. In that okay, I'll give you a quick example, which provided comedy, and it was a funny moment to watch, which was when he faces these Kentaros, whatever you want to call them. He fights for a little bit, hand to hoof to archery. It's pretty convoluted, but
right.
But eventually he just gets fed up and pulls out a gun, which just shows kind of the heavy-handed, like, I'm modern now, which I like. I like the adjustment.
That's an interesting spin on older heroes, to have them more modern. Because nowadays, modern heroes versus modern villains, guns, they don't do anything. That's something you'd expect from the police who come rushing it.
Right, so he's trying to be modern, but he's still kind of behind. So he's definitely catching up.
Yeah, like grandparents.
Right, exactly. And second issue that was a bit more dark, a bit more strange, a bit more finding corpses in a butcher's, castle. That's
to be expected.
I did find that out of most of the kids' novels that came out too. So, I suppose it's just kind of an all over the board thing this week.
Yeah, an underlying theme in comics.
Yeah, sort of a trend. But it was Injection issue 6. The whole series has been kind of iffy for me. The premise is great. It's a computer that's sort of evolved into a sentient life form and started messing around with the fabric of reality.
So similar to MODOK?
Sort of, but a lot different too. It's a really cliched premise at first, but the things they're doing with it are fantastic because they're making. Okay, the computer has access to all these many myths, these many legends, these many ways to intimidate people, and it is absolutely using that. Like, it'll take myths and legends from different cultures. Some I haven't even heard about. It's not necessarily touching on the main Kentaros or whatever you want to call it. But it's going deep into mythology, and it's become a really interesting series. Definitely a darker series, like I said, but the art is enjoyable and fitting of the series, and the dialogue is pretty funny, if I do say so myself.
That's always a good thing in comics.
Absolutely. So now we're going to move on to our first ever letter of the week. And before I get to this letter, I'm going to repeat our Gmail address so that you guys can find us. That is thecomicbooknetwork@gmail.com, which is THECOMICBOOK COMICBOOK, hold on, I'm sounding it out, NETWORK @gmail.com.
With no spaces.
With no spaces except the one up in the sky. Our first ever letter. It's pretty exciting.
I'm actually very excited for this. I was not expecting one for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, so we're gonna give him a name so that we don't give away his real title, don't give away his personal info. So I'm gonna give you the great honor of coming up with the name, provided that it is Thanos.
Let me think. What do you think of Thanos?
I hate it. Choose another one.
Choose another one. Thanos.
Okay, that's a great one.
I thought of it myself.
It really was just off the dome.
It was an off-the-cuff one-liner.
I love it. You're
too.
hired.
Thank you.
Back.
Again.
Yeah. So, here it goes from
Thanos.
Hey guys, I really enjoyed that first episode. Admittedly, it was a little stale, but there's a lot of potential. Well, that means a lot. And I look forward to tuning in more in the future. I've already messed it up, and it's been 2 lines.
You done screwed it
Man.
up.
Anyways, I have a few questions for you both. 1, what are your names? That would be Thanos and Thanos.
I'm Ethan, and the host is Ian.
Yeah. So, secondly, what comics would you like to see adapted into movies or TV shows? Man, I haven't thought about this as much as I probably should have. Like, this seems like a pretty standard question.
Standard question, yeah.
But what comic would you like to see if you had a choice?
You know, I haven't really thought too much about it, but I have 2 answers that I think would be cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
I think a Taskmaster movie. As you know, I love Taskmaster, and I think it would be pretty cool to see him in a movie of his own, and they have so much resources to use from him. And another one I'd like to see is, I know this hasn't worked out in the past, but take a Fantastic Four comic and stick to the Fantastic Four comic.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to the third question, which is, what are your thoughts on the DC Universe, or DC Extended Universe films? Based on the information that we've gotten just recently, I'm super excited for them. I think Flash will be great, even outside of its TV show. Aquaman looks fantastic, and the Wonder Woman footage really gave me hope. Any quick word on that?
I've watched the Flash TV show a lot. Liked it. Watched Arrow TV show. Liked it. I'm excited to see what they'll do with it. For sake of time, that's all I'm gonna comment.
Yeah, that's. So thank you for your question, Thanos. And we hope to see more questions from you guys. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. This is the Comic Book Network signing off. You can find our episodes every weekend on Spreaker, on YouTube, and on the World Wide Web.
On the World Wide Web.
Have you ever been there before? It's a magical place.
I only go on Wikipedia.
Oh, that is true. You did make it to the second page, correct?
No.
Oh.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. We hope this is a bit more entertaining and not as stale as last one.
Hope it's an improvement.
Let us know how we're doing. Send in your emails. And,
absolutely. It's a learning curve, but we'll try to get there for you guys. We're really having fun doing it, and we hope you are having fun listening to it. We'll see you next time. And
have a great week.
Have a fantastic 4 weeks.